Well, welcome to the final part of this four-part series on rebuilding the top end of this 85 Suzuki GS450. We've got the majority of the work done at this point. Now what we're going to be focusing on is putting on the exhaust, the carburetors, valve cover, and tightening up the wiring and just getting this thing buttoned up and ready to start. So we're going to be moving through some of this pretty quickly here, but I think the final thing is whether or not this is going to start. So let's get going.
Okay, I slid the carburetors back in. So what we need to do is to just go around and make sure that the clamps are put on. Make sure that the air box is tightened down. Starter cover. I think I mentioned I replaced all the hardware on this bike with, especially the outward facing stuff, with stainless steel. I just think it looks a little bit better. And one on the other side, which I'll go over and get. Next we'll put on the timing cover. Time to start tucking away some of these wires and running the cables right. When you start snugging up these wires, what you want to do, at least what I do, is make sure that you don't have any of the throttle cables or the choke cables connected to the wires. That way you can still pull off these carbs at a later date if you want. But you want to obviously get this stuff snugged up as best you can. This is the vent tube for the carb, which goes into the fuel tank. This is the fuel hose. I'm going to run this around on the side as well. That way taking off the tank will be a lot easier as well. This goes onto here. I'm waiting for a valve cover gasket, so you think I would have ordered that ahead of time, right? Well, sometimes I surprise myself and forget all this stuff. So nice and tidy. Can't forget the tack drive. What you want to do is make sure you got an approximation of how this is aligned on there, and just give it a turn. So there we go. Well, it's time to put on the exhaust system here. If there's ever been a case for anti-seize, it's on the exhaust bolts. We've got stainless steel bolts here, and they will seize up. So will the regular steel bolts, but get them started. The crossover on the exhaust was rusted through on this bike, so just cut it off and welded a patch on the holes. Put the other side on, tighten up the back brackets for now, and that'll be it. Okay, one of the last things I've got left to do is to put the valve cover gasket on, and I failed to order a new one when I was getting all these parts, so putting it on now. And start by putting these little end plugs in. I use this ultra copper gasket stuff. It's high temperature, it stays flexible. It's great stuff. Highly recommend. Permatex makes it. I've got it at every auto parts store as we go through. Once you get the end pieces on, I would recommend putting some of this gasket stuff before you set the gasket on there. Got the valve cover put on, put a thin coat of that copper gasket stuff up front or on top of it. I'm going to put a little bit of that gasket material or anti-seize on here and get these started up. All right. Okay, this is Truth or Dare Day. I think I've got everything ready to go on this thing. Tighten up the plugs, check the oil, all the gaskets, checked all the wiring, check to make sure it will crank. So what we're going to do is try and start this thing. Choke is loose, throttle's working. Put it on, run, open up the throttle, and let's see what happens to this. Oops, I guess I should turn on the fuel first. Let the carbs fill up. It's always something. Take your time when you're starting up a bike after you rebuild it, obviously, but you just want to double check everything. Got about a quart of oil here. Quart of gas, I mean. Let's see what we got. Let that starter cool down. Well, it took me a while to get it started, but it eventually did here. So well, that's the end of this. We finally got this bike put together and it's running. I mean, what else is there, right? This has actually been a 2-year project of mine. I've taken my time doing it and it's cost more than $50, I'll tell you that. But as you saw, the thing is running. So the only thing left for me now on this bike is to just do the minutia on the bike, adjust the carburetors, bleed the brakes, all the miscellaneous stuff, and get this thing ready to sell. As I said earlier, I've finally gotten down to editing all the video I took on this. It's midwinter, and hopefully I'll be able to start thinning the herd with some of these bikes here. This is going to be one of the first ones to go. So if anybody's in Southeast Michigan this spring and looking for a fire sale 450, let me know. But I hope you've enjoyed the series. I've got more planned coming out this summer on some various other project bikes I'm working on. So with that, I think it's time for a scotch, believe it or not. Take care and ride safe. Thanks again.